How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
My fellow Americans, it's wonderful to have you with me today. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, if you want to be on the show today, we're going to treat it somewhat as an open line Friday. It's 877-973-7425. Are any of you going to the Texas A&M game this Saturday? The most expensive regular season football game on record, college or NFL. All those Texans want to go watch this intrastate rivalry. The current get-in is $741, but the average ticket price, $1,079 to see Texas and Texas A&M this Saturday. I got to tell you, I love college football, and this year, college football has been wild. It's been vastly more entertaining. The upsets, I mean, Vandy beating Alabama, LSU beating Vandy, which means LSU is better than Alabama, Georgia beating Texas, and then losing to Ole Miss. Maybe one day they'll get a reliable quarterback at Georgia. I don't know. It just, I mean, Georgia is not what I was expecting, and then poor old LSU, they beat Vandy, and the LSU fans at the end of the game after winning against Vanderbilt are chanting to fire their coach, who's not a great coach. He just, I'm not a big fan of his. Nobody in Louisiana is. They all want him gone. That fake Cajun accent in his intro video just ruined him. It's been all downhill from there. College football's just been wild this year. And now this. I'm actually going to the Chargers-Hawks game, or Falcons game. The Hawks are basketball. Falcon Chargers game this weekend with some friends. Got tickets to go to that. I've never, don't hold it against me, those of you in Atlanta, I've never been a big Falcons fan. I grew up in Louisiana, so the Saints were who I rooted for. I owned the Green Bay Packers. Those tend to be the teams I root for, but I like the Chargers. And some of their players are listeners and got invited to go to the game. So I'm going to go see them this weekend. But I've never been to a Georgia game, and I need to go. The governor of Georgia has now twice invited me to go to games, and I've been out of town both times and couldn't go, but I need to go to a Georgia game. I've been to an LSU game, of course. Those are the best. Although I got to say, tailgating at Ole Miss is probably the greatest sporting event. Nonetheless, I digress. I'm not spending that much money. You Texas and Texas A&M people, y'all go beat each other up on the field, wear each other out, exhaust each other, injure each other. I want the stars of the teams to be taken out before they can move further into the season. I shouldn't say that. All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving watching lots of football. We need to move on. I want to call your attention to a couple of stories because it's relevant, and it goes back to the prior story that we talked about last hour on CNN and the progressive journalists at CNN being shocked at and refusing to believe the data that Twitter, since Elon Musk took it and all the liberals left, is now actually the most balanced, politically balanced social media platform out there. 48% identify as Democrats, 47% identify as Republicans. And it's related to a story that seems to be completely unrelated. Here's the headline from the New York Times. Automakers to Trump. Please require us to sell electric vehicles. 3 of the nation's largest automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, are strategizing with other car manufacturers on how to make a delicate request to President-elect Donald Trump. Don't scrap the federal regulations that compel the industry to sell electric vehicles. The conversation would require diplomatic finesse. Mr. Trump has railed against the EV rules, which strictly limit the amount of tailpipe pollution while also ramping up fuel economy standards. They are designed to get car makers to produce more electric vehicles and have been a cornerstone of President Biden's fight against climate change. Mr. Trump sees them differently. He has falsely said the rules amount to a Democratic mandate that would prevent Americans from buying the gasoline-powered cars of their choice. That's not false. That's true. So at the very beginning here, 3 paragraphs in, the New York Times is already lying with the word falsely. Mr. Trump still holds grievances about some of the automakers whom he views as having betrayed him because during his first term, they supported Obama-era auto emissions rules. In fact, most automakers don't love the more stringent rules Mr. Biden put in place, but they've already invested billions in a transition to electric vehicles. And fear of Mr. Trump made an abrupt change as he has promised, they could be undercut by automakers who sell cheaper gas-powered cars. They argue it would harm an industry that's the backbone of American manufacturing and employs 1.1 million people. So you've already got one major lie in here. Donald Trump falsely said the rules amount to a Democratic mandate that would prevent Americans from buying the gasoline-powered cars of choice. It's actually true. It is a Democratic mandate that will prevent people from buying the gasoline cars of their choice. Now, this is from Tom Catenacci at the Washington Free Beacon in response to this New York Times story. The 3 largest American automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, are, according to the New York Times, planning a coordinated lobbying push to convince President-elect Donald Trump to maintain a suite of climate rules forcing electric vehicle purchases. The Thursday report, titled Automakers to Trump, Please Require Us to Sell Electric Vehicles, cites unnamed lobbyists and officials from several car companies who say manufacturers want Trump to keep the Biden administration's regulations for electric vehicle purchases. But at least one of the referenced automakers, Stellantis, is pushing back on the Times reporting. Beyond that, a letter from the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, the nation's lead auto industry group, sent to Trump on November 12th and obtained by the Washington Free Beacon, indicates that climate rules pushing electric vehicles are among the major headwinds facing the industry. A spokesman for Stellantis told the Free Beacon the company is not pushing to preserve EV mandates. Quote, the New York Times story characterizing Stellantis as preferring to lobby the incoming administration to preserve mandates is not accurate. Stellantis was not among the lobbyists and officials from several car companies the story cites. In fact, Stellantis' CEO has repeatedly said the company is uniquely well-positioned to adapt to any policy changes President-elect Trump might make because its multi-energy platforms can easily flex to accommodate a wide range of powertrain options from internal combustion to full battery electric. Ford and General Motors executives said they would also prepare for market changes and respond to consumer demand. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation went further, urging Donald Trump to roll back the standards. Now, this is the thing. The big 3, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, they're part of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. So you have the Car Manufacturers Alliance and Stellantis directly saying the New York Times story isn't true. And the New York Times essentially saying the big 3 automakers want us to keep all these onerous regulations. They're lying. They lied in the 3rd paragraph, how they characterized Trump saying something they said was false when it's actually true. They're lying to preserve power. Now, this gets to the liberals at Target. Yeah, I realize, unrelated. But there's a Wall Street Journal story today, the headline, Target slide from cheap chic to dull chore. Shoppers are falling out of love with Target. Customers have long bragged about their cheap chic Target purchases. Now many are griping about items missing on shelves, long checkout lines, and products locked up to prevent theft. Others say they're shopping at the chain less because they feel groceries are cheaper elsewhere or there's a lack of exciting items. Some are still upset about a Pride Month collection in 2023 that they felt went too far. Now, it's that last one, the Pride Month collection. Let me jump through the link. This is from August of 2023. Target, much like Bud Light, is stung by culture wars. Target, much like the brewer of Bud Light, discovered the cost of getting caught in the middle of hot-button social issues in a politically divided United States. Sales at both businesses suffered over marketing efforts that backfired and caused shoppers on both sides of the topic to call for boycotts. Anheuser-Busch came under fire for a social media promotion with a transgender influencer. Target was criticized for store displays of merchandise for Pride Month that included gender-neutral swimsuits. Then each company's response angered supporters. Now, this is very important because Target's chief executive officer has long denied that Target's aggressive pushing of Pride Month did anything. Remember, years ago, Target was one of the very first stores in the country to say they would allow men into women's restrooms. And that began a boycott, and to this day, Target denies that had an impact. Yet you know it had an impact because Target expanded the number of unisex bathrooms in their stores. I'm sorry, but when you're willing to invest a whole lot of money into unisex bathrooms after a backlash, and you're going to say that backlash did nothing, affected nothing, and did not influence you, you're lying. In the same way, they're overabundant, in-your-face pride stuff with the gender-neutral swimsuits and, for kids, and it was just gross. And a pro-Satan designer designing stuff for them last year, it caused a backlash. And again, Target's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. And other news outlets, not the Wall Street Journal, ran sources, no, Target has seen no effect from this boycott. It wasn't true. Time and time again, the media lies to preserve its narrative. Like, for example, over the weekend, bad guys in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai murdered an Israeli rabbi. The New York Times headline is, Israeli rabbi gone missing, dead. No, he was murdered by Iranian sympathizers. They didn't want to give you the full story. So here we have again, time and time again, the media refusing to give you accurate information in large part because that information disagrees with the left-wing narrative. They just can't process that they've lost the culture on these issues. And they have to build this Potemkin village of narratives that are empty. They have lost the American public. The progressives in charge of Target have lied. The progressives in charge of the New York Times, they lie. The progressives in the media lie. And they don't like Twitter, not because Twitter is conservative or Twitter allows lies. It's because Twitter is where people can now so easily go and combat the lies with truth. Twitter is where you can expose the lies. And it happens every day and is quite effective at popping the bubble of the left-wing narrative. For so long, progressives controlled every narrative. They had ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, and the newspaper. Then Fox News came along and shattered it, and more people started watching Fox, and they have spent years trying to discredit Fox News and drive Fox News out of business. Then along comes Elon Musk, who buys Twitter, and guess what they're doing there too? Elon Musk in Twitter shatters their narratives, and now they're furious about that as well. They don't like Fox. They don't like Twitter. They don't have to play along with it. What they don't like is that they can't control it. They don't like it because they're not in charge of it, and their lies are getting exposed. The left's narratives mountain a throne of lies, trying to preserve their power. I have an idea for progressives. If you want to earn the trust of the American people again, maybe stop lying to them. Maybe acknowledge reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. And too many on the left would rather force us to change our words and be at war with the English language to change reality than actually, accept reality as it is and accommodate people where they are. The left does not want to do that, and they're still using media institutions to try to spread lies instead of dealing with the truth. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. I got to play you this audio. This is from CBS New York. This is kind of wild. Again, this is one of those things where people on the right said this was happening, and our news media lied to us and denied it to cover for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. This speaks for itself. Again, this is CBS News, New York.
Well, growing concern among the NYPD over Venezuelan gang activity across the cities. Police believe some gang members are recruiting children living in migrant shelters.
As Jennifer Bisram reports, the gang has blended in with asylum seekers who began arriving here in 2022.
Once they commit their crimes, they go back to the migrant community where they assimilate themselves with people that are actually here obeying the laws.
The NYPD is cracking down on Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang they say is living in the shelter system and recruiting children.
We have 39 members of TDA that have been identified, and we have an additional 4 members that have been identified of a subgroup called the Little Devils of 42nd Street.
42nd Street.
Yeah, those are much younger kids.
And those are just the members police have been able to identify.
We have no fingerprints on file for them. We have no photographs on file for them. We have no prior criminal history on them. They swap out their IDs. We have no way of tracking or knowing who they are when they enter the country.
The NYPD's chief of detectives says undocumented criminals as young as 11 years old are carrying out retail robberies and committing crimes on scooters, snatching people's jewelry, watches, and cell phones at gunpoint and knife point. Over 300 incidents last year, more than 800 so far this year. They've brazenly shot at police officers, too. When
we do make arrests and we're able to charge them on 4, 5, 6 incidents, when they go before a judge in New York City and their arrest record is run, they show no prior criminal history. They're released on their own recognizance.
That's New York City. Because of progressive policies in New York City. Remember, the Eric Adams is attacked for complaining about out-of-control illegal immigration in New York City, and the judges and the DAs let him out of prison. That's what's happening because of progressive policies, and it's what the media said wasn't true. Now, let me tell you what's true as well. You go to EdenPureDeals.com, you put in Eric3 as your discount code, you can get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for less than $200, and you save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. They not only wipe out odors, and I'm talking, any odor you throw at it, the spoiled shrimp odor, a dirty diaper odor, smoke odors in a rental car. They wipe it out. You can plug it into your car with a USB outlet. You can plug it directly into the wall. It even now wipes out 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. It generates plasma, wipes them out, gets rid of pet dander, pollen, dust, you name it, packs a wallop. And you can hold it in your hand. I keep one in my travel bag. You can get 3 of them and save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. You get the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and you start cleaning the air. You get one for upstairs, one for downstairs, one in your basement, or your travel bag, or your RV, or your car, wherever you need them. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code again, ERICK3, ERIC3 at EdenPureDeals.com. Breaking news out of the gate here. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. We've got some breaking news. Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to a ceasefire. It will start at sunup Wednesday morning their time. So in a few hours from now, a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, which is good. Now, I wasn't going to do this here, but I'm going to do this here because I think it's important. On my mind, y'all, it has been a heck of a year. And first of all, I want you all to know how very thankful I am for all of you. In my flagship market in Atlanta, I have been the #1 radio program, music or talk. They call it the demo. People who listen 25 to 54, that's what advertisers care about. I've been #1, and I've got several other program directors reached out to me from their markets. They've put me on and #1 either overall or #1 with men. And in talk radio, #1 with men is a big thing. And so, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you, and thank you to the program directors, and thank you to the companies that have taken a chance on the show this year. And I'm an awkward, I lost a big station because the market manager of that station decided I wasn't willing to be deferential enough and non-critical of Donald Trump. I criticize everyone, including Trump. And he didn't like it and decided to axe the show. And I licked that wound a little bit. But at the same time, by just telling you what I think and being who I am and not trying to BS you or just tell you what I want to hear, the show is done incredibly well. Related to that to a degree, I want you to commit, please, and it's going to be easier for y'all to do than for progressives to do. Don't talk politics at Thanksgiving, particularly with family who may disagree with you. That's something that, I find this in particular, it's always progressives. I don't recall ever seeing anywhere on any conservative site advice to be divisive at Thanksgiving. But every year at Thanksgiving, there's some progressive site somewhere that insists you should either be in your relatives' faces about politics, or you should avoid like the plague anyone who disagrees with you over politics. You should not allow people to celebrate Thanksgiving with you if you disagree with them politically. And I'm sorry, but life is too short for you to divide your family based on politics. And here's the thing. A lot of the people who have divided their lives on politics, they worship politics. Politics is their religion. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I grew up overseas in the Middle East. I had friends who were Muslims. I had friends who were Hindu. I had friends who were Buddhist. I had friends who were Christian. I had friends who were secular, atheists. Across the spectrum, I had friends. I'm used to being able to hang out with people who disagree, and you just avoid the hot topics. You don't talk religion. You don't talk politics. Here I am doing a radio show where I talk religion and politics. And by the way, I got to say, y'all would be amazed at the number of people in radio who insist, I got to stop talking about faith and religion on this radio show. And then I do a live event. You pick the live event. You pick the venue anywhere in the country. And all the listeners come up, they appreciate that I do. It's a particular quirk in radio. They're the ones upset with it. The listeners actually aren't. But this goes to the whole political frame of people who are so obsessed with politics, and in their obsession with politics, they've turned politics into religion. And they don't want to associate with the heretics. They don't want to associate with the apostates. They don't want to associate with the people who see the world differently from them. And it is, in particular, a unique quirk of the political left, because on the political left, they have substituted God for government, and politics has become their religion. Instead of going to church on Sunday, they go to protest. Instead of giving a tithe to a church, they give money to Planned Parenthood. Instead of singing hymns, they sing songs of the resistance. It's become religious for them. And so just as you want to go to a church that shares your denominational inklings, like I God bless you if you're Catholic, I don't want to go to a Catholic church. I'm grew up Southern Baptist. I'm Presbyterian. I want to go to a Protestant church, preferably not United Methodist Church. Those people lost their minds. Go to a PCA church. Go to a Baptist church. Go to a non-denominational strip mall church, which is generally code for Southern Baptist, but with bourbon. But if I got to go to a Catholic church because there's no other church around, I'd go to a Catholic church. But with progressives, they can't go to their own family Thanksgiving if Uncle Bob voted for Donald Trump. And that's a damning indictment on them. But also, Uncle Bob, there's no reason for you to gloat at Thanksgiving. We've entered a wild phenomenon in this country where we not just have sore losers, we have sore winners as well. And there are a lot of people who they can't just win. They need to be in your face about their win. There's no grace anymore. And this is, we've crossed the Rubicon between the believer and the non-believer, and so many people who call themselves Christians in this country now, they're really not. You know, if you go back to the Old Testament, there's this laundry list of things that God tells the Israelites to not do. Eat shellfish. You know, the God of all creation deprived the Jews of shrimp. I don't know why, but it saved the shrimp for the rest of us. But he told them, don't mix fabric clothing. You don't wear mixed fabric clothing. Don't get tattoos. The tattoo one is funny to me, and let me just dwell on this one for a moment with you. It is hard to find a youth pastor in America these days who doesn't have a tattoo and wears flannel. With the Jews, God said, you don't get tattoos. Now, why? The reason was because, and this is some speculation on my part, but educated speculation, having gone to seminary, all the other tribes had tattoos. In fact, a tattoo is a cultural norm in tribes. Go to South America, study ancient American Indian culture, study ancient European culture and tribalism, and in Africa, tattoos are a thing. Go to the Middle East, rewind 4,000 years ago, tattoos were symbolic. You get a sense that the Jews were told to dress differently, act differently, and live differently, and it set them apart. You could identify a Jew from the other people around them visually, distinctly. These people don't have tattoos. They must be Jews. These people are circumcised. They must be tattoos. These people don't wear mixed fabric clothing. They must have tattoos. These people have food laws. Now, remember, this is well before Islam. And it was the Jewish people who were given a set of laws compared to other countries, other nations, other religions, other tribes. And they had food laws. They had customary laws, and it had to do with purity and cleanliness. And it set them apart. They were visually distinct. So you fast forward to the New Testament, and those cleanliness and purity laws go by the wayside. I call them shibboleths of the damned. Progressives will throw them in your face. You eat shellfish and wear mixed fabric clothing. You call yourself a Christian? Yes, because I'm a Christian. I'm not an ancient Israelite. There's a difference. When people bring that up, you know they're probably going to hell because they're really ignorant about Christianity. But what happened? What happened? There is a method to my madness here. Just follow along with me. Suddenly, you could eat what you wanted to eat. I still think blood, because that was Noahic. You shouldn't, but that's a theological hill for me to die on, not you. But you can wear mixed fabric clothing. You can eat shellfish. You can get tattoos. And how now does the Christian set himself apart? By his behavior. See, the Israelites were visually distinct from everyone around them. The Christian is culturally distinct from everyone around him. Why? The Christian has joy where others have none. The Christians were persecuted by the Romans because they would go to the Abori. The Abori was the slang for the Roman dump. And the children that the Romans didn't want would go to the Abori. I bet you know what word is derived from the Abori. They wanted to leave the kids they didn't want on the trash heap. They'd dump them on the Abori. They would abort the kids. And the Christians would go rescue them and raise them as their own. Some of them deformed kids. Some of them with birth defects. They'd raise them. They were known by their love. They were known for their distinctive cultural practices of going where others dared go. Because the Christians believed that not a hair would be taken from their head until God willed it. Others would flee from areas of disease. The Christians would go in and tend to the sick. These weird people. Christians have stood apart as countercultural. So you got Uncle Bob now, who's a Trump guy, who knows little Sally with her they, them pronouns is coming for Thanksgiving, and he's going to wear his MAGA shirt and his MAGA cap, and he's going to rub in that Donald Trump won. It's not very Christian of Uncle Bob. He doesn't care, though, because he doesn't go to church on Sunday. He just calls himself Christian as an ethnic identifier. Uncle Bob should probably be a little better Christian. It doesn't mean you got to embrace Sally and use her pronouns. It just means don't be a jerk at the dinner table. Don't be a jerk. You won. Be humble. Christians, ultimately, is their defining characteristic, in addition to their love and joy, is their humility. They're humble people. They're not braggadocious in your face at the dinner table because the guy they voted for won. And here's the funny thing that the Bible tells us. Pay attention, Uncle Bob. You want to gloat to Sally and her they, them pronouns and her purple hair. You're not gloating actually makes Sally more mad. So the Bible tells us being kind to people like that heaps burning coals on their head. Your willingness to not gloat, in addition to giving everyone a more peaceful Thanksgiving, actually makes Sally more mad when she leaves because she wanted the fight. She was prepared. She has things she's prepared to tell you, and you've deprived her of that opportunity to mouth off at the table. Those of you on the left, give it up. You lost the election. There's going to be an election in 2 years. You'll probably win it. It's the way the midterms work. Calm down. The end of America is not here, despite what you think. And those of you on the right, be humble, be happy, be joyful. And joy is different from happiness because you can be sad and still have joy. You can be sad, you can be mournful, and you can still have joy. And you should be set apart by your joy. This Thanksgiving, use this as an opportunity, as the media wants you divided and the left wants everybody divided, as everybody wants everybody at each other's throat, as China and Russia want Americans fighting Americans, so we're divided and they can be united together. Unite. Be thankful. There are people out there who their families can't get together and yours can. Be thankful. Be thankful for your blessings. Whether you like the way the election came out or not, I got to tell you, be thankful for this country. Be thankful for the people of this country. Be thankful for the founders of this country. Be thankful. Be joyful. Be thankful. Be united. Don't go out of your way to divide yourself. And if you're one of those people who is listening to me because you're hate listening, and you're listening to Joy Reid telling you don't celebrate Thanksgiving with people who disagree with you, I'm telling you celebrate Thanksgiving with people who disagree with you and find ways to have pleasant conversation. And in that pleasant conversation, find ways to build bridges because it'll make you a better person. The problem is so many of these people on the left already think they're better people, and they're not. They're just like you and me. Sinners. They just don't recognize sin. Be joyful. Be thankful. Be together this holiday season. Now, let me tell you about my bank I'm thankful for, Old Glory Bank. I was an advertiser. I was a user of Old Glory Bank before I was an advertiser of them. I actually begged them to advertise on the show because I wanted to tell people about them and get paid to do it a little bit. I mean, I'd tell you about them anyway. They're a fantastic bank. They are literally my bank. I have my checking account with them. I have my savings account with them. Even though they're an online bank, I can deposit cash in Old Glory Bank. They've got 88,000 retail locations around the country that use an innovation on their app where you generate a QR code. The CVS by my house, I've done this before. After I won big in Las Vegas, I went, generated the QR code, the cashier scanned it, I gave her the money, she put it in the cash register, and it got credited to my account. I don't know how. It's like magic, but it works. Old Glory Bank. If you're a business, you can do business checking with Old Glory Bank. You can do business loans. You can do mortgages, home loans, car loans, whatever you need. They're a real bank. They even do CDs and got great interest rates. OldGloryBank.com. You can fill out the form online and get your account set up right online. They'll mail you their very cool, well-designed debit card. OldGloryBank.com. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Open Line Friday. Today, the phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. I just learned random trivia during commercial break, and I will share it with you. Charles Rolls of Rolls-Royce. He's the Rolls in Rolls-Royce. Charles Rolls was the very first Englishman ever killed in a plane crash. It rolled over on him, literally. I did that. Wow. If he was in air, the tail broke off, it rolled over, he died. I never knew. Randomly. I'm telling you, I am a fount of random trivia. My wife the other day asked me some question. She says, you are great at random trivia. And she asked me some question. Now I can't even remember the question. It was about something in Africa. And yep, I knew the answer to it. All right. We must move on to other things. But first, I must tell you, Darrell Issa of California, he has taken aim at Anthony Blinken. Turns out Anthony Blinken, on taxpayer dime, had therapists come to the State Department after Donald Trump won. Oh, boy. Y'all, I got to tell you, in all honesty, I got to tell you, if you are that upset about the election, you should join those of us who are opposed to the size and scope of the federal government and rein it in. An election for president should not up in your world, but it has for some people, and that is a damning indictment on your obsession with government in Washington, D.C. So just rein it in and cut the power.